Good morning to all of you out there. I'm Cito Beltran. Welcome to the program Agenda. It's September 2, 2020. It's a Wednesday. And today, I'm sure some of you have noticed that the weather is kind of gloomy, medyo cloudy, and I hope it won't be a slow day for us, but it is definitely an interesting day for some and a sad day for others. Many of you on Facebook have been jumping at this new app called Avatar, where they basically do caricatures, cartoons of your... Nauso dati yung kung ano-ano mga app para sa mukha. Ngayon, cartoon na ang nauuso. It's an comic illustration of people's faces. So, well, good luck on that. I hope it's not one of those apps na yung pala minimina yung inyong personal information. So please be careful. It's nice to have fun on social media, particularly Facebook, but sometimes there are stuff out there that could actually put your personal information, data, or security at risk. In any case, today, we are going to be discussing things of vital concern for people. For instance, we will speak with Rui Moreno, Chairman of Transportation and Infrastructure for the Management Association of the Philippines. Alam niyo, itong grupong ito ay puro sila mga executives, mga managers, etc., leaders, and they have taken upon themselves to be involved, be engaged in governance indirectly, no? Kasi sila yung kumbaga tumutulong sa gobyerno at sa publiko, meron silang mga iniisip. They have suggestions regarding transport because that remains to be a problem right now. The government continues with the general community quarantine. The President, Sonny Dominguez, wants our economy to roll on, but it's not going to roll on if workers don't have anything to ride, if there is nothing that will bring them to the office. And as it stands, medyo para tayong bumalik sa World War II. Para tayong bumalik dun sa, well, not exactly World War II, pero sabi nga nila, post-World War II peacetime, na walang masakyan, lahat ng tao naglalakad at nagbibisikleta. Because there seems to be a growing number of bicycles on EDSA itself. On EDSA, there are more bikes now, and which is a good thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's nice that Filipinos have discovered that they can get around with bicycles. But the problem is there are people in government who are also opposing that. So we'll find out from Rui Moreno what their position is on transport. Then we will speak with Jose Allan Arellano, Director of Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines. Kasi marami po sa mga private schools sa Pilipinas ay pag-aari or management or whatever of the Catholic Church. Now, the thing is, at least from last I read, 440 private schools have suspended their operation until the next school year kasi wala talagang kikitahin, walang nag-e-enroll, or may nag-e-enroll man, medyo latak compared to previous years. Then we will speak with James Jimenez. Suki natin to last year of the COMELEC because meron na naman po tayong voters registration. Kanya lang, nilulunsad pa lang ng COMELEC, inupakan na kagad. Hindi naman inupakan. Nilulunsad pa lang, it's just being launched. And local government officials basically said, hep. Tigil muna yan. Medyo, hindi ba nyo napansin may pandemic? Hindi ba nyo napansin na may coronavirus? So we'll talk to James regarding that. And speaking of James, meron just, tidbits for the day. James Yap naman. Hindi po natin siya magiging guest. Kwento lang. Si James, katulad ko, nakapag-asawa ng foreigner. James Yap is in supposedly trying to get back to the Philippines kasi iiwanan na muna niya yung misis niya at dalawang anak niya sa Urbino, Italy dahil feeling niya mas safe sila. And that's just another case that should catch the attention of our government. Italy was the hot zone, was the epicenter of COVID-19 at the start of the pandemic. They have COVID-19 in the Netherlands, but I and James are leaving our families there because at least doon makakaikot sila, doon makakagalaw sila, doon may sense of normality. Dito, medyo weird na. In any case, also another piece of news para naman doon sa inyo na maaaring nagtrabaho sa pamilya ni Lucio Tan, kakilala o nakatrabaho yung kaibigan nating si Michael Tan. It is sad for me to share this news, but the wife of Mr. Lucio Tan and the mother of Mike Tan passed away. Mrs. Letty Tan, Lucia Letty Tan passed away. And condolence to Mike. He's a friend and he supports some of the scholars we support. And kami po ay nakikiramay sa Tan family regarding this loss. And then medyo puntahan na po natin ang ating stories on the front page of the Philippine Star. Okay, the Senate Committee of the Whole revealed its findings on the alleged corruption within PhilHealth, and among the recommendations, file criminal and administrative charges against executives of the state insurer. Among the findings of the Senate Committee were lack of legal basis for the interim reimbursement mechanism, the information technology aspect of PhilHealth, which they coined as an anatomy of corruption, and the alleged manipulation of the agency's financial statements. And as such, the Senate Committee recommended that officials like former President and CEO Ricardo Morales and Chairman of the Board, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, must face charges. Speaking of PhilHealth, Dante Giran, medyo nakakabulol tong pangalan nito, Dante Giran, the newly appointed president and CEO of the agency, has admitted that he is scared of his new job. Nako. But vows that he is out to restore the confidence of the people in PhilHealth. Giran has said that he may not be familiar with the operations of the PhilHealth, but he promised to restore order in the state-run insurer. Among the first things he seeks to do, examine PhilHealth's financial records. Palas has earlier said that Giran, a certified public accountant, is the best man for the job. Well, good luck. Good luck is the best we can say to President Dante Giran. And I encourage our viewers to pray for him, that the good Lord Almighty will guard him, keep him safe. Pero side comment na lang po, Mr. Giran, do not start your presidency by expressing fear, anxiety. Medyo hindi po maganda yun kasi ang expectation manggigera ka dyan, tapos gano'n ang opening, medyo it does not elicit confidence, so to speak. In any case, I wish you good luck. I hope you have a better outcome than your last three predecessors. Another new appointee has been named in government as Lieutenant General Camilo Pancratius Cascolan has been named the new Philippine National Police Chief. Cascolan will succeed Archie Gamboa, who bows out of service today as he reached the mandatory retirement age of 56. Cascolan is said to have short stint as he will turn 56 and reach the mandatory retirement age on the 10th of November. Okay. regarding that matter, a lot of people kind of wondered, huh? 2 months to go, in-appoint pa. Pagbigyan nyo na po. Yan po kasi ngayon ang style. That is the style. Consideration, okay? As some other people, the older generation would put it. It's when if the guy retires as chief PNP, medyo maganda po yung kanyang retirement package kesa sa mag-retire lang siya na regional director or administrative chuba chenis dyan, whatever. Pag naka-retire kang chief PNP, medyo okay, maganda yung retirement package mo. Kanya lang, ang tanong is this going to be the state of affairs for the PNP and the military na 2 months na lang para lahat makagraduate o makaretire na maganda ang package. And I don't know what it does for confidence because there are a number of really competent officials within the PNP who have sacrificially served, and they are like para silang mga old maid, forever nag-iintay for their turn. Pasensya na doon sa mga old maid. Meron din akong kamag-anak na old maid. Kaya lang, yun yung malungkot Parang nag-iintay ka para makasal ka o ma-promote ka na. Pagkatapos inuna, pagbigyan na natin kasi 2 months to go na lang ito para maganda yung retirement package. I'm saying this not to be critical of General Cascolan. Sinasabi ko lang po yung katotohanan, okay? Na it's become a practice not just in this administration but in past administration. And we're footing the bill, okay, for these special packages. Okay. And the government has eased the restrictions on religious gatherings as churches are now allowed to accommodate up to 10% of its seating capacity. Previously, only 10 persons were allowed to attend religious services like masses. While some bishops welcomed this development, Acting Catholic Bishops Conference of the Philippines or CBCP President Bishop Pablo Virgilio David was not pleased, citing that casinos in general community quarantine areas have been allowed to operate at 30% capacity. Yan na nga ba yung sinasabi natin? I'm actually, in a quandary here, or I'm torn between the two because alam niyo po, I belong to a evangelical church, yung tinatawag niyong born again. Hindi, wala namang born again church, evangelical church yan. At hindi po kami nagpo-protest. So, yung iba tinatawag kami protestante. Hindi po, no? Many churches have shifted online. And actually, like I mentioned in the past, ang kagandahan nga nitong nangyari sa COVID-19, maraming churches, nag-umpisa na ng daily morning prayer and praise and prayer. O kaya yung parang shorty service, tawag ng iba, no? And the idea is, you will read from the Bible, you will have praise and worship, and you will have someone speaking about the passages that are being read or the topic or the series that's being addressed. And it's daily. Dati naman po, nung mag-COVID-19, karamihan weekend Christian, weekend Catholic. Because of COVID-19 at yung mga tao medyo naghahanap din, they have actually learned to appreciate this, and it has become a habit. Ako po, honestly, me, 7 o'clock, our praise and prayer and victory, every nation begins online, and it's on my calendar, it's on my alert. We didn't have this before. Okay? So, ito naman, yung sinasabi ni Bishop David, I agree with the Bishop. Fair is fair naman. Kung yung makasalanan, binibigyan nyo ng 30% attendance, bakit yung simbahan? Isipin nyo nga yung ano bang tawag doon sa simbahan na ito? Yung sa San Agustin o kaya yung sa Manila, yung katedral. 10 tao, magtaguan kayo sa poste, hindi na kayo magkikita . And it's really, I'm sorry, I'm editorializing on the news, kaya lang medyo we have to be fair. Pati nga yung mga magsasabong, yung mga sabongero, sasabi, nauna pa yung gobyerno sa sugalan. Pero kami mga sabongero, hindi rin kami pinagsasabong. And whether we're talking about Catholic Church or Christian churches, I mean, some people need to be in the house of God, so to speak, no? They just need comfort. They need a place of quiet and just feeling na they can connect with God. Parang dispalinghado yung patakaran at sistema ng gobyerno, yung patakaran ng gobyerno, kasi yung sugarol na karamihan, sinasabi nyo, foreigner, okay? Pinapayagan 30% capacity sa casino. Pero sa simbahan, mga taong magsisimba at magdadasal para sa presidente, sa pinuno ng bayan, sa kalagayan ng Pilipino, pinagbabawalan natin. But although, okay, that's why I'm torn, here's the other concern. To be fair to government, alam nyo po, medyo ang problema kasi natin dito is historically, factually, all over the world, many of the repeat infections have happened also, not just but also in churches. Lalo na doon sa Korea, yung nagkahawahan ng biglang putok ulit ng COVID-19, yun po nangyari dahil sa isang simbahan. Nagpuntahan sila doon, nagkalimutan ng social distancing, nagkalimutan ng capacity, etc. Yari, biglang dumami. Okay, medyo pinipitik-pitik na ako. Ninenervyos na itong ating ating tawag nito, ating executive producer. Puntahan na po natin yung ating mga interview. Let's bring in the Chairman of Transportation and Infrastructure for the Management Association of the Philippines. He is also Vice Chairman of the Center for Global Best Practices, Mr. Rui Moreno. Good morning, Rui.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, looking good. Now, Rui, I understand the M.A.P. under your leadership for the transport group submitted recommendations to the DOTR. May we first know what your recommendations were regarding mobility and transport in Metro Manila and in other parts of the Philippines?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, let me just say that our focus is on the National Capital Region because NCR accounts for something like 40%, 50% of our economy. And really, even when we first started recommending to the government certain that public transport should be introduced, and we sent the first letter back in April, we already said at the time that essential workers in essential industries have to go to work. And there is no public transportation for them to go to work and start reviving the economy, start earning money again. In fact, at the time, we already calculated that there were already a market for, there were something like 200,000 people who had to go to work just for the 10 or 11 essential industries that had been allowed by government to operate at 10% capacity. So therefore, this is our second recommendation, in which we have now focused on not only buses along EDSA, but also looking at the transport system in a holistic manner. That not only do we look at the buses, we also look at the jeepneys and also at the MIT LRT system, and also private vehicles, because the whole transport system, you must look at it as a system, not only as one part. So what you do for the buses will have an effect on the cars, will have an effect on the jeepneys, etc., and on the commuters. And more than anything else, what is important is the fact that there must be cooperation not only from the national government, but also with the LGUs, the barangays, and the people themselves. I was listening to you earlier when you were talking about this fear that we have of getting infected because of the COVID. And it is correct that we must be careful. But each one also has a certain personal responsibility to take care of himself, to take care of his family, and to take care of the community. If each one of us is careful and follows health protocol, then this virus, which we will have to live with for quite a long time until we have a vaccine, at least will be under control. Because if not, all of us will be living in a state of fear and nothing will happen.
Yeah, but Rui, here and I have to take the other side, the position on the other side. Okay, but the problem here is, does the DOTR recognize or actually even consult with people like you and your organization? Because it seems that the DOTR is already set and determined on what they're going to do. They have put the buses on the left side of EDSA. They have now started introducing, slowly but surely, buses with left side exit and entry points or doors. And then they have started implementing these bike lanes. And fact of the matter is, they've really choked or strangled the flow of jeepneys in Metro Manila. And the general impression is modernization. Ang gustong mangyari ng DOTR, modernization. They're starting with the bus. We need the bike lanes. Yung mga jeepney, kailangan by hook or by crook, mawala na.
Well, you know, I think all government agencies, they do listen to the people or to organizations. Whether or not they follow the recommendation completely is a different matter because maybe
Mhm.
they have other considerations or other constraints on their hand. Now, the bus lane issue is already there. Uh, I think what has to happen there are two things. First is immediately what they should do is control. What DOTR, LTFRB, LTO should do is put speedometer, I mean to say, to control the speed of the buses in that bus lane. So to minimize accidents, maybe limit the speed to 40 kilometers an hour. That's one. Secondly, is that DOTR, and we have mentioned that also in our recommendation, should already immediately start building, how do you call it, access to the center island, if that is really going to be the policy. Access to the center island for PWDs, for especially for pregnant women and for seniors, so that they can cross over safely rather than having to climb all the way through using the MRT system, stairway system, which the MRT operators have already commented that they should not be using the emergency exit of the MRT in order to, how do you call it, in order to access the platform of the center island. Because what would worry me, for example, and worry many of us, is the fact that if you don't have such access to the center island, people will start trying to cross EDSA, and that can lead to accidents and
Yeah.
also traffic again. For
Yeah.
example, last Sunday, I went to Bulacan and I was on EDSA in front of Trinoma. This was around 10 o'clock in the morning. I could see a guy standing there by the harang, by the barrier. He was waiting to cross. Of course, traffic was light, so he was going to run across. But can you imagine not that happening, let's say, on a weekday in the evening, and it is a senior citizen who's not going to go up, or a pregnant woman who's not going to go up that stairway to go to the sidewalk. So
Yeah.
that is part of our recommendation. Please
Yeah.
already build this this how do you call it? And now, in so far as the jeepneys are concerned, what we modernization is good, but perhaps, and that is what we have stated there, perhaps modernization should come. There should be some rationalization first with the jeepneys. In other words, for example, have jeepney terminals, specific jeepney terminals, and specific jeepney stops, and also uh, form them into cooperatives so that way there is enough volume of business so that you make the jeepney drivers uh, pay them a fixed salary so that they're not running all over the streets trying to pick up passengers. And then you have jeepney terminals designated by the LGUs in every, from point A to point B. And that will also allow a demand-driven type of calculation. Or this is the number of passengers in this particular area from point A to point B that needs only so many jeepneys. And so therefore with that, that is the number of jeepneys we will put in. And if you have the terminals, you can also control the access by having, for example, and this is what we have advocated, and some of it the OTR has followed, which is to have checks on the temperature of the passengers and of the drivers, that they're wearing face masks, and now these days face shields, etc. So, in other words, what we have also said is that public transportation
Yeah, Rui.
must be an essential industry.
Yeah, Rui, that's all valid. Okay. Now, the question is, who's going to pay for this? Because sa napansin ko lang, no, what I observed, government, and I'm not referring to any person for that matter, government in the Philippines has this behavior where they will introduce policies, concepts, or requirements, like modernization, for instance. Pero it is at the cost of the either the jeepney driver, the operator, or the public or the citizen. Parang sa face mask, there are requirements for face mask, face shields, etc. Pero tayo yung bumibili, hindi naman binibigay ng gobyerno. It is always at our expense. And here in the industry, meron ba sa inyo, and I'm sorry to pass the buck to you guys, but is there even any concerted effort or suggestion in the private sector, in the business, na kung gusto nating magbago itong transport industry, tayo na bumili ng mga jeepney, pa-scrap na yan at palitan ng mga bago?
Well, let's put it this way. That is why it goes back really to, for me anyway, is really personal responsibility. You know
Mhm.
already all the limitations that are there. For example, you're saying, ibibigay yung face mask. Bakit ibibigay yung face mask? Bakit hindi bilhin ng tao if he knows that it's going to protect him? We always talk about, what should be given to us, but what is our own personal responsibility in order to be able to protect ourselves and to protect our families? We must also do the job for that. Now,
Well,
insofar as, for
Rui,
example,
Rui,
go ahead.
Rui, we're already doing that, mind you. Okay, we're
Okay.
already paying for the face mask. We're
Yeah.
already paying for the face shield. My point being, everyone's talking about modernization. And in other countries, when governments want to enforce modernization, whether it's toilet bowls, whether it's faucets, or it's jeepneys, it's the government who basically say, okay, bayaran namin ng jeepney ninyo para matigil na yan at
I
bumili na kayo
agree.
ng
I
bago.
agree. Yes, I agree. But you see, what we are advocating in this paper is that if you must have modernization, that can follow after you organize the jeepneys the way they are at the moment. In other
Mhm.
words, if you're going to modernize, do it after you have introduced them back into the system with the public health safety protocols that you have asked for.
Yeah.
And the jeepneys have followed. They
Exactly. That's the whole point. The jeepneys have followed, but they're being strangled. They're not being let go, let out. It is so regulated that half of them are begging in the streets while the other half are driving. In any case, matanong ko lang, Roy, uh, what is the impact of all of this on your members, on the business sector, that it has become a concern for the MAP?
I think it is not only a concern for MAP. It is a concern for all of us. But let us be more specific.
Yeah.
The MAP members are all members of corporations, either as executives or as owners, or
Mm,
both.
yeah.
And therefore, it is also their concern to be sure that the workers get to the factories or to the offices on time, in
Mhm.
good health, and therefore productivity must be there must be productivity. And if the people are not there, how can you do any business or do any work? And that again will strangle the economy if the people are not there in good health. And can you imagine somebody having to walk or commute 2 hours or 1 hour trying to get to office? And not only so much because there is traffic, but because they're not sure whether or not there is a jeepney or there is a bus that will be available. And so that is of concern to MAP and to its members. That
Okay.
make sure that the workers or the staff can get to office.
Okay. Roy, crazy question, crazy idea. Wouldn't it make better sense in terms of health, in terms of prevention of disease, and in terms of comfort for workers, na we just house them? Kasi nung umpisa ko pa sinasabi ito, if we need the economy running, we might be better off slowly but surely telling employers, gumawa na kayo ng sarili nyong dorm, mag-compound na kayo. In fact, my example back then was, let's start with the processing zones and factory areas where they can put up their own system na testingin mo RT-PCR, and then pag clear, oh sige, pasok ka na. And then they all stay there for at least 15 or 30 days because a lot of the workers I talk to, they're saying, sir, sa totoo lang, mas gusto pa nga naming straight kesa sa uwian ng uwian, nakakatakot umuwi, ang gasto sa pamasahe, pagkatapos uuwi kami, hindi namin alam, inuuwi pala namin yung sakit. What's your reaction to that idea?
I think that's a very good idea. In fact, I stay in a condo unit in Ortigas, and
Mhm.
the staff that is working in this building, they stay here straight 30 days at a time. Then they go
Mhm.
home. Then they come back after 15 days or a week, whatever it may be, and they're tested, and then they stay again another 30 days. Now, insofar as companies are concerned, uh, I think some of them are already beginning to think of that based on their experience during the lockdown back in March or April. There were companies, particularly those that were exporting and had certain deadlines to meet in terms of delivery, that they already said at the time that they either were busing the workers in or they were making them stay in the factories or in the premises and setting up, even temporary shelters or beds, etc., and feeding them also.
Okay,
So
well,
that is
I hope you guys can spearhead. All it takes is one breakthrough leader or organization to show this is how it's done, and I know that the MAP and its many members can actually show others how it's done. And I'm gonna have to end it at this point, Rui. But thank you very much that you and your group are still doing your best, trying to get government to work together with you. Thank you very much, Rui.
thank you for this opportunity to talk about our advocacy.
And please
Thank you.
let us know if you have new stuff to talk about, and we'll be happy to have you on board. Thank you, Rui.
Thank you. Thank you, Cito.
Okay, that's Rui Moreno of the Management Association of the Philippines, Chairman of Transportation and Infrastructure. And maganda po yung unang sinabi ni Ginoong Moreno. It's an interest. The government needs to understand this. It is not an act of rebellion. It is not an act of disobedience or difference. But you need to be able to trust and empower your citizens to have personal responsibility. Kasi alam niyo po, sabi tayo ng sabi, ibalik natin ang ekonomiya, let's bring out the workers, etc. Pero yung kalahati ng pamilya nila nakakulong, hindi makalabas. Eh sino bibili ng mga produkto na ginagawa sa factory, produkto na ginagawa sa restaurant? Now, Secretary Mon Lopez wants certain services to resume operation, but if the 60 and above are not allowed and the 20 and below are not allowed, di puro workers. And then here's the irony. Here is, where it really gets, I hate to say, but it gets stupid. Kasi pinalabas mo yung mga tao na magtatrabaho, magpo-produce, tapos pagdating ng gabi, pauwiin mo, mag-uwi, magbabaon, kalahati sila baka magbaon ng COVID-19. Okay? Mr. Moreno was correct. We need to allow citizens to exercise public responsibility, and I am confident in saying Filipinos have 98%, 99% have shown public responsibility in the fight against COVID-19. Kasi mismo ng mga tiga-Malacanang ang nagsasabi, kakaunti ang namamatay. Pero please, kung kayo mga nasa gobyerno, don't take credit for that. If we have very few deaths per million relative to other countries, it's because we have good, exceptionally dedicated doctors, nurses, and health workers. Okay? Let's not try to get political mileage for the sacrifices of our health workers. In any case, yun lang po, no? Sinasabi ni Mr. Moreno, let Filipinos show their capacity for responsibility and to go out. Eh di pag nakakalabas, biglang may ekonomiya. Medyo mabubuhay yung ekonomiya. Eh pag lagi niyong kinukulong, anong mangyayari? Di tatanga na lang kaming lahat sa bahay, magkakamot ng tiyan, and what happens? Most of us, we're just staying indoors and nothing. So the economy, nothing then. Okay, let's go for a quick break. And when we return, we go to the rest of our show here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on agenda, and I was just kind of going through the stuff that Mr. Rui Moreno was sharing, and it struck me kasi kakaulan lang po dito sa Barrio Capitolio, and I know it's been raining in many parts of the country. So we are actually in the rainy season. Ito ngayon, alam naman ninyo na pagdating ng tag-ulan, yan naman yung kung saan nagkakahawahan lalo na sa mga public transport. Nagkakahawahan ng sipon, nagkakahawahan ng trangkaso, etc. In fact, I just want to remind those of you, I don't know if it's too late in the game, too late in the year, but me, my wife, my daughter, we've all had our flu shots. Now, yun po, no, sa mga napanood ko, nabasa ko, they strongly encourage that you have your flu vaccine kasi kahit papano, kung hindi man ito kontra sa COVID-19, kontra ito sa trangkaso para hindi manghina yung katawan mo na baka mamaya kanyo tamaan kayo ng trangkaso. Okay, sandali lang Gabriel, ako yung nagsasalita dito, huwag mo akong istorbohin, nasisira. In any case, yan po ang problema sa work from home. Ang daming monitor na binabasa. No? In any case, just wanted to bring that up because you have to be careful. It's the rainy season and there's a lot of, this stuff going on. Kung kayo po yung mga bumabiyahe, pumapasok sa opisina, yung panyo nyo lang na iniiwan sa mesa, baka mamaya kanyo nagkakalat siya ng mikrobyo. In any case, let's go to our next guest kasi ito po, no, maraming private school are experiencing survival issues kasi maraming mga magulang, a lot of parents have lost jobs. So the instinct is to cut back on expenses, do your numbers, and we don't have the 100, the 200,000 peso tuition fee, so they go to the public school. Sorry anak, pero unless I have a job, you'll have to go public muna. So iba yun, In any case, let's speak to the director of Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, Allan Arellano, kung kamusta ang sitwasyon nila. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, Chito. I'm happy to be here.
Ano ba, paano na ba tayo? Gagawa na ba kayo ng The Survival series?
Actually, we're happy that the government allowed us to open earlier than October 5, which they changed, diba, 3 weeks ago. Because somehow that encouraged a lot more students to decide to enroll. But of course, it's much lower than what we expected or what we had projected. We're getting probably an average of 60 to 70% of our students last year. And in the bottom line, that really matters, no?
Yeah.
So many of us are,
Yeah, go ahead. Now, here's the thing, Alan, because that came as a surprise even to my friends who have kids in private schools. Many of them can't figure out or understand why are there last count I heard in the news was 440 private schools will be suspending their operations for this next school year. Now, they can't figure this out kasi sabi nila, hindi ba napaka-profitable naman ng mga private schools? They make so much money. Many of them are part of the Catholic Church. So, the general impression is your members have enough money in the bank to sustain operation even in lean times.
You know, the private educational sector is a very varied group, no? We have 14,000 members in the sector. Out of the 62,000 schools in the Philippines, 14,000. In the CAP network, for example, there are about probably 2,000 Catholic schools and 1,525 are members of our association. Around 600 are really big schools at La Salle, Ateneo, St. Scholastica, Assumption, UST. These are the big schools. But an overwhelming majority of our schools are mission-driven schools, mga parochial, mga schools in the barrios, mga schools in the hinterlands. So, yun yung ganun ka-varied yung sector. So, kung iniisip nila na mayayaman yung mga school, meron talaga mga schools na talagang malalaki. No? Wala silang problema.
Okay.
Kahit ngayon, no? Walang problema sila sa enrollment during the pandemic. 90 to 110% ang enrollment nila. Nadagdagan pa yung iba. But an
Yan yung
overwhelming
yan yung 600 na big time.
Yes,
Pero yung libo, ano yung balance? Hindi ko masyado nakuha yung
sa amin,
figure.
sa 1,500, yung mga 900 plus, these are
So,
really small schools, mga mission-driven, mga parochial, diocesan institutions.
Okay.
Mga
Pero
small schools.
ang tanong diyan sa Alan, ang tanong ko diyan, okay, given na yung mga big time, sige, hindi sila mamamatay, hindi sila magsasara, it's okay. Now the 900 parochial small institutions, how many students are impacted by this? Kasi ang unang reaction ko was, oh my God, you know, if these schools close, those poor students, they're the ones who are going to have a disconnection. They're going to have an identity crisis. They're going to have to re-enroll in other schools and new adapt. They have to adapt. Ilang estudyante? How many are we talking about?
Sa Catholic network, lahat-lahat, siguro mga 2 million kami.
Okay. Students.
Students, 2 million students. No? We have about 300,000 to 400,000 teachers, staff, etc. Pero hindi magsasara yung mga yan. No? Nagkaroon lang ng kaya i-correct ko yung nakalagay dito, nakasulat. No? Dahil initially yung government say August 24, tapos ginawa October 5. We appealed that. Ang inano namin, allow us to start August 24. Kaya we started last week. Many of our schools started even earlier. So medyo nabalanse ng konti. So we are getting more and more enrollees now. So meron ding mga maliliit talaga na had to temporarily close. Alam ko na meron, personally, mga around 9 or 10 schools in our network that will have to suspend their operation. Yung mga ibang nagsara siguro yung mga family-owned small schools, yung mga siguro mga garage schools, mga subdivision, mga ganyan.
Okay.
But sa Catholic network, konti lang yan. Talaga lang yung siguro, yung mga hindi na kinaya.
I'm going to ask you a touchy question, no? Kasi alam ko pagdating sa pera at discounts, touchy question lagi ito, no? But given the pandemic, given the fact that even the parents of those students in the 600 big schools are affected. Ngayon, ano ang naging strategy ng members ninyo to kind of soften the impact and to preserve the continued enrollment?
Okay. Almost none of our schools increase their tuition. As a matter of fact, majority of them actually reduce the tuition fees. No? But you cannot reduce it low enough para yung sa expectation ng mga parents. Kasi meron ka mga teachers na permanent teachers and staff na you cannot have diminution of fees of salaries. Hindi mo pwedeng babaan. Kung nakaka-receive na ng 20,000 this year, hindi mo pwedeng yung 15,000 this year. So meron kami na-maintain na threshold na kailangan mo makuha para ma-maintain. So, karamihan, binabaan yung ibang fees. Yung nakikita mo yung mga activity fees ka dyan, na meron ka, kasi wala ka ng physical activity sa school, wala ka ng mga acquaintance party, wala ka ng mga, siguro, family day. So, inaalis na yung mga ganong fees. So, karamihan ng schools na alam ko talagang matindi ang reduction ng fees.
Okay, so they reduce the non-essential fees or kumbaga yung mga we can do away with that. Now, paano naman yung mga teachers? Kasi may mga nagsabi, in the health sector, I know they have a problem kasi a lot of the private hospitals are losing nurses because nurses have shifted to the public hospitals dahil mas maganda raw ang sweldo, meron pang hazard pay, kuno, etc. How about in the education sector sa mga private schools? kayo ba apektado nung better pay compensation issue?
Yeah, that has been a problem for the private educational sector for the last many years. Ang migration ng teachers namin from 10,000 to 30,000 every year going to the public school system. Kasi marami silang kailangan. There are about 1 million public school teachers nationwide. So meron lang siguro nagre-retire dyan, namamatay, etc. every year na 1%. That's already 10,000, no? So saan nila kinukuha yun? So fresh graduate na hindi mo nila kinukuha kasi wala pang lisensya. So yung mga yan, yung mga fresh graduate will go to the private sector. Tinetrain namin yan, binibigyan namin ng maayos na orientation. Pag nakakuha na ng lisensya yan, nagpupunta yan sa public school kasi ang resources ng government ay mas malawak kaysa sa majority ng private schools. So yan ang problema namin. Maraming teachers ang lumilipat. Especially mga small private schools. But the big ones, kaya namin mas mataas sa public school ang salary.
Okay, paano naman yung estado ng mga empleyado ninyo? Are they affected by COVID-19? Because, I cannot think of any sector who has not been hit by COVID-19. What is the impact of COVID-19 first on your personnel, on the teachers, officials, and also in terms of the operation itself?
Okay, dahil nga wala pang pasok, konti lang ang mga nagpupunta sa schools, no? So, meron mga nababalitaan at right away naman hindi na sila pinapapasok. Meron na silang protocol. We follow strictly the protocol of IATF. So, nire-report na 'yan sa mga local government o nag-stay sa bahay para mag-quarantine. At marami sa schools namin ang mga teachers nasa bahay din, doon sila nagtuturo. Konti lang yung talaga nagre-report sa office, mga empleyado, and they follow strict protocols on health. So wala kami hindi ganun katinding problema sa mga schools.
Okay, how prepared are the private schools when it comes to this new blended learning daw or this online teaching? Kasi yung sa public school ngayon pa lang siniset up although pinagplanuhan na nila. Now, in a private school, people are assuming, kinarir na yan ng mga private school. Is this true?
In reality, many of our schools have started distance learning in the 90s.
Okay.
So maraming mga marunong na talaga dyan, no? As a matter of fact, some of them are fully online even before the pandemic. So kailangan na lang ituro ito sa mga ibang schools, ibang teachers. And we've been doing that, no? Meron kami mga training sa flexible learning and blended learning modalities.
Yeah.
Para sa mga teachers earlier probably than what they've been doing in the public school kasi nga malaking bureaucracy, matagal ang proseso ng pagte-train. Sa amin, ang bawat school is a kingdom itself. So the principal gets someone to train them, madali makukuha yan. So madali yung proseso sa amin. So we started earlier than the other sector.
But how are you guys going to do it? Kasi, di ba, sa public school, merong online lecturer, merong mga modules, pero yung nanay o yung tatay o si ate will still be part of the teaching system. How about in the private school? Si mama ba o si dad or whoever or tutor is going to be doing it or what?
Hindi pwedeng hindi sila kasali kasi nakasama nila sa bahay yung anak nila . Kasama talaga kasi nga blended at flexible. No? Merong asynchronous, merong synchronous. Yung synchronous is nandito ang teacher, may klase siya. Nakikinig sila dyan. So sabay-sabay sila nakikinig. Tapos meron ding asynchronous, naka-record yung teacher o kaya merong modules na binibigay sa bata. Pero majority ng alam ko mga schools na nagbukas sa last week, online learning ang sinimulan nila. Yung mga wala talagang gadget, meron din, kasi nag-survey kami early on sinong pwede dito, sinong hindi pwede dito. And then some of our schools have talked to Catholic radio stations. Ginamit nila yung mga radio station for broadcasting lessons. Meron ding mga television network na tumutulong para i-broadcast yung learning. Pero katulad din sa DepEd, probably iba lang ang proportion kasi mas marami proportion sa amin online. Kasi mas prepared kami sa ganung setup. Mas maayos ang connectivity sa ilang communities na may Catholic schools. At yung clientele nga namin, medyo mas ready sila sa online learning. Nung
Okay,
survey kami, around 85 to 90% of our schools are with good connectivity.
yeah, that the connectivity is good. I mean, one would presume because of the quality or kind of clientele you have or students, medyo can afford sila. Pero how did the parents react when they were informed na you're gonna have to be part of the teaching system? Because parang, hello, ang mahal-mahal na nga ng bayad ko sa inyo, private school nga yung pinuntahan ko. Pagkatapos, gagawin pa ninyo kong empleyado ninyo, gagawin pa ninyo kong anong tawag nung bata-bata kami, ano yun? Assistant teacher ninyo.
Ito naman habang meron lang sa pandemic. At saka, sa totoo lang, ang pagtuturo sa mga bata is really a partnership between the home and the school. Kahit ano ituro mo sa bata sa school, pag hindi suportado ng parent yung lesson at yung value system, ay hindi matututo ang bata. Kasi kung sino nakikita niya, yung ginagaya niya. So ang binibigay namin sa kanila, subaybayan nyo lang that they follow the discipline. Halimbawa, ang klase niya, 8 o'clock, gising na siya dyan at maupo na siya sa harap ng gadget niya at laptop niya. Siguraduhin yung gumagawa ng lesson, hindi ka magtuturo. Kasi paano ka magtuturo? You're not trained to do that. So sa orientation namin, binibigay namin sa kanila, anong kailangan namin sa inyo? Siguraduhin nyo na yung bata natutulog ng maaga, kumakain ng tama, nag-vitamins, at maayos ang mental health, hindi na abuso sa bahay. At kung kailangan ng lesson, nandyan kayo, lalo na sa preparatory hanggang grade 3, to guide.
Okay, kasi yung prep at saka yung hanggang grade 3, yun yung napaka-limited concentration. Habang may nagtuturo si Alan, biglang nakakita ng laruan, iiwanan si Alan maglalaro.
Correct. So doon namin kailangan ng parent.
Okay, but what about parents who have their own lives? Kasi ito na-discover ko ito, Alan Parang, if I listen to people, parang sila lahat may kanya-kanyang terminal, may kanya-kanya ng pwesto sa bahay and wala nang pansinan. Sige ba, ayan, you have your lessons, go ahead. And then si mama o si papa are doing online business, online work. Parang, you would think it would be the ideal situation because everyone's at home. But as it turns out, many people are saying, you know what, Cito? We are all working harder. We are all more distracted, or we are more, engaged in 100 different things. And contrary to what people believe or think, the time for the kids isn't really quality time. I mean, nandun ka, but there is no time with the kids.
Okay. Kaya yung mga schools, binawasan yung oras ng actual lessons Para hindi yung buong araw, nakatuto ka sa bata, nakatuto ka sa lesson. Meron 3 hours, 4 hours, and then may mga breaks yan. So, yung pwede lang pag-usapan. As a matter of fact, diretsong usapan ng parents. Sa aming mga schools na kilala ko, no? Ang parents at saka ang bahay nag-uusap lagi kung anong adjustment ang pwedeng gawin So, sabihin ng parent, di ko talaga siya matututukan. So, eto ang gagawin ng teacher. Meron siyang lesson na para hindi mo kailangan tutukan ng anak mo. So merong adjustment, tuloy ang dialogue, mas it's easier now kasi may Viber at may GCs, may group chat ang parents at teachers. Ma'am, hindi ko yata kaya yung ganito ganyan. And then the teacher is able to help out in the process.
Okay,
mas madali communication ngayon
Okay, so ano ang basa mo sa situation ng Catholic schools, ng private schools? Can you survive if this goes beyond 2020, 2021? Magsusurvive pa ba ang mga private schools or magkakaubusan na tayo?
Chito, in reality, this is a difficult situation for all of us. All sectors are having their challenges, and we have experienced a lot of challenges in the private educational sector, including the Catholic schools. Kasi kahit kami, lumabas kami para tumulong dun sa mga homeless. namigay kami ng mga pagkain para doon sa mga nagugutom din. No? Kahit dito sa opisina namin, nakita namin ang challenge na lipunan natin. Are we going to survive this? Yes, we're all going to survive this. Kasi, nagtutulungan eh. Ang Catholic school community, nagtutulungan siya. No? Meron diocesan system, may congregation yan. So, pag hindi kaya ng isang school within the diocese, pinag-uusapan ng mga pari yan, anong pwedeng gawin dyan? Tutulungan yan ng parish. Or isasara muna, tapos yung estudyante lipat muna sa kabilang parish school. Sa congregation, ganun din. Merong mga nag-uutangan. So, I think at least, I'm speaking for the Catholic education sector, we're surviving, probably surviving beyond the pandemic. No?
Yeah. Well, there is no better time to prepare for the disaster in 2021 than today. I'm just speaking figuratively. No, do you already have a small group that is studying what if this disaster, this nightmare goes up to 2022? How are we going to do education in that reality? Meron na bang pinag-aaralan ganyan na kumbaga siguro wala na tayong mga parental, wala na tayong human teacher, puro na tayo automated, etc.
Patuloy ang research natin sa education. No? That's what makes us schools and academic communities. No? We do research. We are looking at how they're doing things in Europe, in the United States, in Japan, and other model countries. We are considering all these things. And we have a network of associations. No? Yung COCOPE is the Coordinating Council for Private Educational Associations. Kasabang si A.P. doon, nag-uusap-usap kami kung paano gagawin namin. No? At marami kami mga kausap abroad. Nagkakaroon kami ng mga feedback mechanism on how things are being done in Catholic institutions all over the world. No? So we are preparing for the future.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Alan. And I do hope that all of that will just become an exercise and nothing but an exercise. But in the event that develops, kindly let us know. Kasi mabuti na yung mapaghandaan ng Pilipino kung ano yung mangyayari ngayon pa lang. Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, that's Mr. Allan Arellano, Director, Catholic Education Association of the Philippines. Meron po tayong natanggap na message, si Dang Espinosa, regarding dun sa mga bus ba sa EDSA. Her idea, which was actually an idea I had many months ago, was yung bus. Kasi ang issue dun sa bus, yung mga pintuan nasa kanan. Pero pag nilagay mo, kasi pang right side sila, ngayon nilipat na sila sa inner lane, sa left side ng EDSA. Ngayon, pag lumabas ka, sabay sagasa sa'yo ng mga kamote driver, di ba? Now, ang sinasabi niya, ba't hindi na lang natin baliktarin yung bus, ang direksyon, mag-counterflow na lang. Total, may barrier naman, counterflow, hindi mo na kailangan ng bagong bus. Well, thankfully, Dang, what's happening is the DOTR, yun naman sinasabi ko, the government may be slow, but they are responding. They are trying to do something. Nagpasok na yata sila ng 6 ba yun o 8 bus na ang pasukan o entrada or doors are on the left side, which makes it safe and you can now do it. Ang nagiging issue na lang ni Rui tungkol dun sa mga EDSA ay marami naman sa amin, senior citizen, paakyatin mo nung hagdanan, mag-elevator, etc. Medyo nahihirapan yung mga buntis daw at senior citizen. Kanya lang, alam niyo po mga kaibigan, ako po senior citizen din. Ako'y manaog ako na 4 floors every day, at least 10 times. Alam mo, nakakatulong ho yun sa puso, nakakatulong sa tuhod at sa katawan. At yung aking hagdanan ay specially made po. Pinagawa po namin kasi nung bata-bata pa kami. Sabi ko, taasan mo nga ng kapiraso para na rin step ladder exercise yung hagdanan. Kanya yung mga kaibigan ko ayaw dumalaw dito sa bahay ko. Kasi pag umaakyat sila at sinabi ko, doon tayo sa taas ha. Paktay, sasabihin, Cito naman, ano ba naman to? Wala kami sa kondisyon. In any case, my point was, yes, we respect the senior citizens, yung mga mayroong kapansanan, at yun nga yung pinoproblema nila, Rui. Paano na yung may mga disability? Yun lang ang issue dyan. So, ewan ko, I hope the DOTR can find the solution. Okay, we'll go for a quick break. And when we return, kausapin po natin si James Jimenez ng COMELEC kasi dapat po voters registration. And ayan po, no? Baka sabihin nyo, ay, hindi ako interesado dyan sa voters registration. Oh, not my cup of tea. I don't like going out. Many LGUs ask for your ID or whether you are a registered voter in their locality before they give you an endorsement bago kayo bigyan ng kapirasong papel para pwede na kayong magpalibreng check-up doon sa clinic, doon sa city hospital, para kayo mabigyan ng travel pass, etc. Yun po yung pinagbabatayan. Hanggat wala tayong national ID, itong voters registration ay napakahalaga. At saka alam niyo para doon sa mga politiko, yung mga gusto ng boto, yan ang batayan, hindi yung national ID. Kasi national ID, sinasabi, Pilipino ka, dito ka nakatira. Pero kahit lumipat ka na, yun pa rin, yung voters ID. Yun ang batayan. Uy, nako, ito, boboto sa akin to. Importante. So, wag niyo pong ismolin. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, let's talk about voters registration and the concern and opposition for doing it at the moment here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250, or probably on facebook.com/OneNewsPH and YouTube OneNewsPH. Okay, puntahan na po natin ang susunod nating bisita kasi ngayon ay kahapon, Tuesday 1, nag-umpisa yung voters registration for new voters. Tanungin natin yung ating tagapagsalita, spokesperson of the COMELEC, Mr. James Jimenez. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Cito. Good morning po.
Okay, kamusta ka na, James? Mukhang walang nagbago. Hindi ka tumanda sa COVID-19.
Nagtatago lang, sir.
Nagtatago lang. Okay, how has COVID-19 and quarantine complicated your job as spokesperson of the COMELEC?
Well, it's a mixed bag, no? On the one hand, it's making it difficult really to talk to the public about a lot of things, because a lot of things, especially when you talk about voter education, they really benefit from person-to-person interaction. But on the other hand, it's also made it a little easier because I don't have to go all the way to studios now to talk about things that need to be talked about, like now, for instance. We can just do this online. So it's been a mixed thing, no? There are good points and there are bad points, I guess.
How effective is communication? Pasensya ka na, no? Medyo sumegway ako ng konti, but you're an ideal resource person. How effective is communication via Zoom, via all internet and social media in the time of COVID-19? I mean, is it just as effective? Do you get the same results, or are you still learning?
Let's put it this way: it's the best that we have. It's the best option that we have right now. And in fact, just so that just to segue this to COMELEC Matters, this is in fact one of the things we are envisioning will be a replacement for in-person campaigning. No, we hope to encourage that more politicians do this, hold massive webinar-style events rather than exposing people to possible contagion in an in-person rally. Now, having said that, it's important to note that this is obviously not as effective as seeing the person up front in person. There are massive limitations in terms of how you can connect, or how easily or effectively you can connect with your audience this way. But given the circumstances, it really is the best that we have right now.
Okay, having said that, is it also effective? Because I don't know, there is this preconceived notion na mayaman lang ang may mga laptop, may mga iPad, may mga mobile phone, etc. Nakakaabot ba sa dapat abutin itong system na ito na online?
That's a very good question. In fact, that leads me smack dab into the problem that we had yesterday. The problem that we had yesterday in the COMELEC was that a lot of people thought that they needed to have an appointment through Facebook before they would be entertained for registration. And the argument was that not everyone has Facebook, not everyone has access to the internet, which we accept is true. Obviously, not everyone will have access to the internet. Although, of course, as an aside, I would say that everyone with access to the internet probably has Facebook, right? But the problem really is the penetration of internet use into our society is really still not 100%. Far from it. I think the most recent estimates put it at about 40 to 60%. I could be very wrong, but I would say that it's about that number. Otherwise, we would not be having all sorts of problems getting that online learning thing going. We would not be having so many problems with giving that traction. But ultimately, what we do is we look at the internet, we look at internet access as a necessary adjunct to doing what we used to do. Let's just focus on registration. We're not
Yeah.
taking it online 100%, obviously. There are other reasons for that, no? But even if we could theoretically do 100% registration online, we would still not shut down our offices entirely, for the simple reason that we expect that there are many, many, many more without internet access. In the cities, it's hard to forget that the level of access varies wildly throughout the country. But if you're looking at the entire country as a whole, then you have to make allowances for the fact that maybe fully 80% of the public still not comfortable with doing things online.
Okay, now having this clarified all of that, James, okay, kindly explain, pakilino nga, no, itong voters registration, because I actually wrote an article regarding campaigns, programs, and medyo kailangan malaman ng tao yung kahalagahan nitong voters registration. What is the value of this voters registration, its importance, and how is it going to be done? It's all yours, my friend.
Right. Okay. Thank you. In the voter education webinars that we've been conducting, we always start this way. We tell them that the pandemic has crystallized the connection between your right to vote and governance. We get the governance we deserve. Essentially, we get the governance that we voted for. So, yung sinasabi mo kanina, totoo yun eh. Hindi ka makakatanggap ng ayuda, hindi ka magiging eligible for many services kung hindi ka registered voter. But I would go a little further and say that dahil binoto mo yung binoto mo, ganyan ngayon ang natatanggap mong tulong at serbisyo sa gobyerno. Kung magaling yung binoto mo, then nakikita mo rin, magaling yung serbisyong natatanggap mo. Malinaw ang direksyon na binibigay sa inyo ng local government, malinaw ang mga polisiya na pinapatupad, patas ang pagpapatupad. Pero dun sa mga areas na bumoto ka lang sa kamag-anak mo o
Okay, I think we have a delay, a slight delay. Babalikan po natin si James Jimenez. Ayun po, no? At least initially, the registration for a new voters registration is on. It was in effect since yesterday. It is not going to be fully
ng mga
automated.
kababayan natin,
Ito na, we are
na yung
trying. Okay, good.
pagpaparehistro is the first step towards becoming a voter. So kung hindi ka natutuwa sa natatanggap mong service ngayon, then it's time for you to seriously think about voting better. And you cannot think about voting better if you're not even registered. Kaya ganyan kahalaga ang pagpaparehistro. Una, on a practical level, kasi kailangan mo makatanggap ng tulong from government, and the registration is the gateway to that.
Okay, as James pointed out earlier, 60 to 70% pa lang ang penetration kasi magkapakabit kayo ng PLDT fiber, 100 Mbps, para talagang swak na swak tayo. Nag-advertise pa, you know? No, seriously, you know, I don't endorse, I don't promote products, but I do encourage people, when I discover a good product, I tell people about it. And PLDT fiber optic, 100 Mbps, panalo. Okay, balik daw po si James Jimenez. James, are you back there? Okay, wala pa. We accept walk-ins, no prior booking, required to visit registration centers. Okay, pipilitin pa rin natin, but in the event, yun po, no, sinasabi na hindi naman daw hindi naman daw lahat ay online. Yung mga walang access to Facebook, social media or internet, pwede pa rin namang magrehistro dun sa mga opisina ng COMELEC o dun, I think in many cases sa mga barangay o sa City Hall. Actually, City Hall ang alam ko. But last time there was a voters registration, it was done here in the barangay dito sa Barrio Capitolio, so we were able to do it. Now, we will still try to get James. But if not, Gab, maybe you can just send me the basic points of this. Nako, sandali lang po. May tumatawag sa akin. Hindi ko po pwede kayong sagutin. Okay, dribble lang muna ako. Sandali lang po, no? Okay, nagkalintik-linti ka na dahil nagsabay-sabay yung mga messages. Okay, in any case, here's the thing. Is he back or is he not back?
I'm back.
There we go. James, you're back. Okay. Quickly
Yes.
na lang, summary. Paano ba magpa-register? At ano ba ito? Puro online o may physical? Whatever. Go ahead.
Ang preferred natin magpa-appointment. Pinakamaganda magpa-appointment kayo kasi maiiwasan natin yung pila pagdating sa registration center. Pero hindi yan mandatory, no? Pag may walk-in, we will take them. We will accommodate them. Kailangan lang po ay meron kayong form. Ngayon, kung wala kayong ma-download na form, again, because hindi naman lahat nakaka-download, meron po tayong form na ipinamimigay sa mismong COMELEC office. Kumuha lang kayo doon. Ang problema, hindi nyo siguro ma-fill upan sa office mismo kasi nga may social distancing rules tayo. So malamang sasabihan kayo, balik na lang kayo pag napirmahan nyo na. Hindi ibig sabihin tiniturn away yung mga taong yan. It's just that hindi sila pwede mag-fill up ng form doon sa mismong COMELEC office. Otherwise, other than that, registration is the same as always. Fill up the form, biometrics, and then you're done.
Okay, so ganun lang kasimple.
Opo, simple lang siya actually. Doon lang tayo nagkakaproblema sa sa pila sa labas.
Okay, saan ba yan? Sa City Hall ba karamihan yan? Paano ba? Kasi last time dito, barangay eh. Paano ba?
Opo, wala na tayong satellite registration ngayon. Puro tayo,
Okay.
puro munisipyo tayo ngayon.
Puro ano, James?
Munisipyo po.
Munisipyo, City Hall. Okay.
Yes.
Paano raw mag-bubuk ng appointment?
Maraming paraan po. Ang pinakamadali for many people, lalo na sa Manila, pinakamadali is online. No? Mag-private message kayo sa Facebook page ng COMELEC office. Kung hindi pwede yon, pwede kayong tumawag. Again, nilabas na po namin ang updated contact information ng NCR offices natin. Lahat ng offices, 34 offices in Metro Manila, lahat yan may Facebook page, lahat yan may official phone number, lahat yan may official email. You can choose any of those means to get your appointment. Failing that, pwede mag-walk-in.
Yan ba, James, para lang doon sa mga bata, yung bang first-timer o pwede rin yan doon sa mga hindi nakaboto dahil hindi pa naparehistro?
Pwede po. In fact, there are 12 separate categories of transactions.
Pati ako biglang na-freeze eh. Pati ako na-freeze doon eh. In any case, ayun po, no, sinabi ni James sa NCR, pupunta lang kayo sa Facebook page ng COMELEC at makikita nyo na doon yung mga iba't ibang contact numbers ng iba't ibang opisina ng COMELEC. Karamihan po, lahat po yung mga rehistro ngayon for voters registration magaganap sa mga munisipyo sa City Hall. Okay? At kung maaari, kumuha kayo ng appointment para pagdating nyo doon, may dala kayong card at madalian na marirehistro kayo, biometrics, etc. At mas maigi nga kung meron na kayong form, pagpunta nyo doon na fill up nyo na pagkatapos ay 1, 2, 3, go. Kasi alam nyo po, the shorter time you spend in registering, the safer or the lesser the chances of any problems. Now, bagamat kinapos tayo dun sa interview na yon, ako na po ang magsasabi. Ilang beses ko nang na-experience yan. Ayan, James. Okay, nako, nawawala. James, okay.
I'm tethered by my phone kasi and my phone keeps ringing. Sorry po.
Okay, learn to put it on do not disturb. Ako nakalimutan ko ilagay sa do not disturb eh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so sabi mo, yun ang nabanggit mo, NCR offices. Paano yung sa national? Saan sila pupunta?
Sa mga ibang bahagi po ng Pilipinas, they have to get in touch with the COMELEC office in their city or municipality. Marami naman po kaming offices, and we have one office in every city and municipality. So ang NCR po, kaya ko nabanggit yun kasi yun yung nailabas na namin na contact information. Local contact information is available locally din po.
Okay. So, ayun, at least nakuha na natin, James. Maraming salamat. Ay, sandali. Hindi ko natanong. Paano yung sinasabi ng mga mayors na kung pwede, wag munang ituloy ang voters registration? Ano ba ang reaction ng COMELEC?
Pinag-uusapan na po ngayon yan. Ano? In fact, we have an unbanked hearing today to deal with precisely that. Panawagan po yan sa IATF to actually come out with guidelines on whether or not we should continue.
Sana magkatuluyan na.
Dapat.
Sana magkatuluyan na kasi dyan nga tayo ng problema dun sa SAP, dun sa mga ibang ayuda kasi nga walang ID, walang rehistro, biglang mas marami pala ang tao kaysa dun sa mga nakarehistro, etc. Anyway, thank you very much, James. And please, kung may balita ka, pakitimbrihan lang kami para masabi natin kagad kung tuloy o hindi tuloy. Pero ako sana tuloy kasi it would also be a step towards normalization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's James Jimenez, spokesperson of the COMELEC. Ayan po, no? Bagamat mag-uusap pa sila mamayang hapon, ngayong hapon, tungkol sa itutuloy ba ito o hindi itutuloy, palagay ko dapat lang ituloy, ayusin natin, bantayan natin, higpitan natin. Ituloy kasi marami talagang mga bata hindi pa natin nare-rehistro at hindi pa natin nabibigyan ng ayuda kasi nga hindi sila nasa listahan. In any case, ayun na po ang ating araw today. Medyo ayun, nasampulan na naman tayo ng mga, yung pala, hindi pala internet problem. Ang problema ko, kasi pag nagpo-programa kayong ganito, dapat yung cellphone, nakapindot yung do not disturb kung meron kayong interview online. Ako, nakaligtaan ko, biglang tumawag yung aming barangay captain, biglang na-distract na naman ako. Kasi, ni-interview ko si James, kausap ko, tumawag yung barangay captain, coordinate ko yung aking executive producer. Baka akala nyo napakasimpleng daldal lang ng daldal. Hindi po. Mahirap po itong ginagawa namin. But not complaining. I'm enjoying my work. I hope we are helping you, informing you, and maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please include us in your prayers, and please do not forget to pray. God bless all of you. Love you. Take care. That's Agenda for You today.